How do I figure out what's next in my career? How do I align my work with what truly matters to me? And the biggest question of all, can I really design a career that I love? Hey, my name is Jen Smith, and I believe career success doesn't have to come at the expense of living a radiantly happy and healthy lifestyle. As a former HR leader and recruiter turned career coach, I've seen how traditional paths can leave people burned out or boxed in. And I know there's a better way, one that invites you to let go of outdated rules and outside expectations, one that evolves and supports meaningful growth over time. Whether you're feeling stuck, craving more clarity, or ready to expand within your current role and beyond, this show is for you. So grab your coffee or your kombucha, pull up a seat, and get ready to explore practical, modern strategies for building a meaningful, heart-based career. Because you deserve a long, radiantly happy, and healthy career. This is the Flourish Careers Podcast. Hello, and welcome back to the Flourish Careers Podcast. I'm your host, Jen Smith, and today we are here with the final episode of your Career Reinvention Roadmap. Over the last 2 episodes, Jen Pestikas and I talked about recognizing the signs and redefining success. So today we're getting practical because eventually the question becomes, okay, now what? So in this episode, we're sharing the small, intentional steps that helped us actually reinvent our careers without pressure or without taking a giant leap. We'll discuss self-discovery, tiny experiments, rituals that grounded us, and how to follow your energy. This is not about having a perfect plan. It's about creating momentum, one tiny aligned step at a time, and giving yourself permission to build as you go. So I'm excited to wrap up this series with you today and talk about what reinvention looks like in real life. Here's the episode. Hello and welcome back. We are so glad you're here for the final episode in this 3-part series. Today, we're going to shift from the emotional and energetic side of transformation into something a little more concrete. So what does it actually look like to reinvent your career?
Because once you've recognized the signs and redefined what success means to you, the next question becomes, okay, well, now what? And the truth is, reinvention doesn't happen through one big leap, as we've both shared in our stories. It happens through small, intentional steps.
Yes. And so today we're sharing the practical actions, these tiny experiments, I like to call them, the rituals, the habits that helped both of us build careers that are aligned and energizing and true. So Jen, let's start with you. What kind of self-discovery things, or what does self-discovery look like for you? Is it journaling, coaching, assessment? Like what works for you?
Everything. I'm like laughing. So everything. So my husband, I have to share here. He's so funny. He's like, you need like always a therapist, a coach, like a self-help pod, like you need, and I do. I need all the things. And I'm just telling you, for everybody that is in there, right? It is okay if you need all the things. So I dabble on and off with journaling, did a lot of journaling as a young teen and adult. I usually have a coach at least once a year. It is just it's non-negotiable. It's just an investment in myself. And I do values work and I need to revisit it in 26. So Jen, you can hold me accountable on that. And then I'm an assessments junkie. So I'm always like looking at assessments. I've been getting into human design lately, which is a whole other podcast, but I do all the assessments. So the answer is all the things. Hopefully that's helpful.
Yeah, same. All the things here too. So the message there is do whatever works for you and do all the things.
Yes. So Jen, what about you? What were the very first steps that you took when you were starting exploring something new?
So for me, I always describe this as like this whisper. And I like literally had like this whisper in the back of my head. And it was like, help people with their resumes, like help people figure out what they want to do with their career. It literally would not go away. And so I just started like getting really curious and kind of noticing that whisper. I was super drawn to career coaching. And this was before I know career coaching is a thing. This was like, there was no career coaches.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Right. And so I was like, wait, what? I mean, there were some, obviously, because I was expanded. I was like drawn to that, but it was before it was a thing. And so I just like listen to those breadcrumbs. I'm a huge fan of signs and synchronicities. So if I saw a sign or synchronicity, I was like, yes, let's go. Oracle cards, Jen, you had mentioned a whole list of things, but like Oracle cards can give you messages. And so that's just kind of like what was I drawn to? What was I curious about? And then I think the other thing that's really important here is like the permission to not know. Like it doesn't have to be perfect. I remember my word of the year or theme of the year going into 2020, which was the year that I started doing this full time, was like being lost in the right direction. So like I knew I was in the right direction, but I was totally lost. I had no idea, but I just kept taking like the right next step. And that's how I got to, however many years later it is.
Oh my word. Okay. So I'm putting you on the spot. If you don't have it, we'll tell people later. But have you picked your word of the year for next year already?
It's lingering. It's lingering.
Okay.
I'm thinking the word expand. There's something around alignment and expansion. How about you?
Mine is going to be intentional.
Ooh, good word.
Yeah. So like I'm a typical person like many of my people, and I'm sure yours too, like those overachievers. And just because someone told me this, I've learned it painfully over the last couple of years. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. A lot of people look at me and go, oh, she's capable. Oh, she's capable. And then they give me all the things. I take on all the things and then I can't really focus and be intentional. So that's going to be my word.
One thing at a time, slowing it down. Yeah, I think that's so. And that kind of goes along with the presence that you were talking about earlier too. So
yes. And the last thing I think, like we're talking about signs and the whispers and being in your body. So I would just say to everyone, if you can try to slow down, that like Jen was saying, because you may not hear the whispers, you may not see the signs. So take that breath. We're not going to go into meditation today. Like I will just say, take that breath because I think it matters.
It does matter for sure.
Exactly.
So Jen, I was going to ask you too. So we're talking about like kind of slowing down and listening to the whisper. One of the things that I think is super helpful for folks as well is trying things. So like experiments. So maybe like going back to when you first started the Brave Women at Work community, or, you were kind of like unsure of what it was going to become. Do you have an example of an experiment that you tried early on to help you get clear without like the pressure of a big commitment?
Yes. So I think just like purchasing a podcast mic, like everyone's told me, they're like, what are you doing? And here's the thing I have to share, like my family and friends, I love them all, but they were really scared for me because they're like, here you are taking on something else. So it was very confusing for them. But I was clear, yet, like you said, I was like, knew I was going in the right direction, but I didn't know where I was going. And so I had to listen to that whisper. So one of them was purchasing a podcast mic. It was stalking people on LinkedIn that I really wanted to interview, right? Because people weren't reaching out to me. It was listening when that voice would say at the end of a podcast, like, ask them to be a repeat guest, like just stuff like little stuff, which sounds silly, but it's really not so silly.
No. And the one that comes to mind, I know I've talked to you about this before, but the conversation with Hope, when you had that intuition to ask Hope to start the books. Yes.
I was like, hey, Hope, you don't know me. You want to write books?
And she said yes. And you guys are on what number book
5.
now?
We're in 5 right now.
Amazing. 5 books in. So yeah, do the experiment, buy the microphone, ask the person.
I know, because you know what? I mean, and I don't know if you know this, Jen, but like so Brave Women at Work is not my first business. So I tried before. I had another business. It was How Winning Is Done, right? It was a whole different name. And like I tried and it didn't feel authentic. So I went to something new, right? So I don't know. There is no failure, right? It's just like redirection. And you will never know unless you try these little micro experiments.
Yes, 100%. That's right. That's right. You never know unless you try.
Exactly. So what about you, Jen? What creative experiments have helped you move from like, I want this to, this is my direction?
Yes. So I don't know if this is a creative experiment, but getting a career coaching certification definitely helped me kind of solidify. And I'm not a huge fan of so there's a caveat here. I think that sometimes people talk themselves out of doing something because they think they have to go back to school or get some big degree or start. You don't have to. You just don't have to. For me, because career coaching wasn't yet a thing, getting the certification was an experiment to make me realize, yes, I really want to do this, or no, I don't. So here I am in a huge demanding day job, also spending a lot of time and energy getting a career coaching certification. The fact that was driving my energy. I wasn't dreading it. I wanted to do it. I could feel that shift in my energy. Now, then once I got the certification and I started the side hustle with the Muse, I was doing career coaching nights and weekends on top of a very demanding day job. But I was so energized every single time I got done with one of those career conversations. And so that experiment of getting the certification and noticing the energy shifts was really critical for me to continue on.
So one thing before we move on that, I've had a lot of people ask me this question because I'm still in corporate and they're like, what are you taking? I've had people go are you on some sort of energy medication or energy drinks or how are you doing all of this? I get this question almost weekly, everyone. The reason that it works is because I get so much energy from coaching and podcasting and books and book marketing and all of those things that I'm actually a better employee. So don't shy away from these micro experiments because you'll be amazed at how your energy shifts in your body.
Yeah. And when I have to put a plug for heart-based career planning, because that's what I love doing, is when your energy and your impact and your values are all aligned, that's what work feels like. It feels energizing. It doesn't drain you. That's really, in my opinion, what work should feel like. So anyways, couldn't help myself there.
No, go. So Jen, let's talk about those supportive rituals. So what daily or weekly rituals grounded you during your career transition and maybe even still do today?
Yes. So I'm going to share, and folks have heard me share this before, but 5 minutes to flourish is a ritual that I will live and die by. So it was the only thing that helped me get out of the day-to-day chaos of a demanding day job and be able to start, first the side hustle and then flourish careers. And the idea here is just to spend 5 minutes consistently on one tiny thing that is going to move you forward. And so this, for me, started out literally 5 minutes of gratitude before I started my day because I was in a tough spot. I was kind of miserable. And I'm like, how do I so gratitude really changed that for me. And then that 5 minutes shifted to, okay, how do I find a domain for a website? And then that 5 minutes shifted to, what do I want to call my business? So there was, literally just 5 minutes. And so what it would do is it tricked my brain. So I would literally set the timer on my phone for 5 minutes. And I'm a morning person. So I did this in the morning before I started my day job. Just 5 minutes, one tiny thing. So I'd set my timer, do one tiny thing. If I had the time and energy to continue, I would. If not, that 5 minutes, I did something. I did one tiny thing. And when you look back, those tiny things add up and all of a sudden, you're making a change. And so that's the ritual that I will take all day long. So what about you? Anything that's helped you?
Well, first thing, I've quoted 5 minutes to flourish on my podcast many times, by the way. So I've given you credit every time. So I've spread the good word. I'm continuing to spread the good word because I think it is really important, especially for women that are in that in-between in corporate or have other demands. So my rituals are shifting. So one of the things I do is I will read the Bible app for a couple minutes. I do the Bible and then I pull a card, right? So I do both. So I really struggle with that. So I'm here to tell you it's okay. You do your faith and then you do your spiritual. Those are part of my rituals. And then if I can get my breath work in, even if it's partial, that's really the rituals that have kind of helped ground me before kiddos are getting up and mom, where's my lunch and all that kind of stuff. So before I start my day.
Yes. And I think what's critical there is that you're prioritizing yourself. And that's another big piece of this. When you have all the things going on, taking a few minutes to prioritize yourself, whether that's the morning, the end, the bookends. We always say the morning or at the end of the day. Sometimes we can't control what happens in the middle. So pick a few minutes in the morning or pick a few minutes at the end of the day to prioritize yourself and do that one or two tiny things that are going to help you make change. So great examples there.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been talking a little bit about energy versus like titles. And in terms of taking action, Jen, what role does energy play in helping you choose what to do next? So sometimes we talk about light energy versus heavy energy. Like, how does energy help you take action?
So I am a newbie on this, everyone, admittedly. So I used to just like take it all on, as I said earlier. And so I'm still learning, but I am starting to feel it in my body. So if it feels really good, I'm like, oh, yes, yes, yes. Like the breadcrumbs are like I'm leading in that direction. But there are times because I'm in that in between where I still have to take on the heavy energy. But then I go back to my rituals, like at the end of a really tough day, like do my breath work or call a friend or do, like you said, like 5 minutes to flourish on like my side hustles or things like that. So I think for me, it's not one or the other. It's learning how to nourish myself when I have to deal with heavier energy, but trying to be in lighter energy as much as I can.
Yeah. So hashtag nourish to flourish. Another one of my favorite sayings, because you have to take care of yourself, especially when you have all of the demanding things happening. And I think that's a really big piece of making a change is recognizing just what you shared there. So it's a really big deal.
Yes, exactly. So what about you, Jen? When did you learn to trust that like big, energetic yes? And I think we all know what that means. It's like, like we decided like we're going to do this podcast. You and I were both like, yes, right? Even if, even if that yes, right, doesn't look traditional or even linear to like people like around us.
Yeah, this is an interesting one too. I just want to mention, and I think you mentioned this either earlier in this episode or previously about other people. So first, you're gonna have an energetic yes, and it's not gonna make sense to other people. And those other people are people that care about you and they want you to be safe. And so they might not agree with you buying the podcast microphone or stepping out of a lucrative, corporate career. But that's okay because that's their role. They want to keep you safe. They love you. They want to support you. So you have to learn to trust your own energetic yes, even if other people aren't don't understand it, right? And that's just what transition and change is all about. So 2 things for me that I want to share here. First is the first reaction. So the hell yes, right? So Jen, same. Like this was like a hell yes. Like, yes, let's do this podcast series. So noticing the first reaction. And then something I learned that I was never very good at because I'm a very impatient person is to pause. And if something comes through, for me, I'm going to give it 24 hours. Unless it's a hell yes, I'm going to give it 24 hours. I'm going to pause and then I'm going to respond. And so sometimes I'll put myself like in that pause, I'll put myself in the future and say, okay, if I say yes to this and it's the future and this thing is happening tomorrow, how am I going to feel about that? And then that'll tell me like, oh, I'm going to be excited. Okay, yes. Or I'm not going to be super thrilled that I said yes to this. Then that's probably, a no. So those are some kind of like practical and tactical things that might help folks.
One other thing on the other side, and I'm going to just mention, and if you are interested, go look up your human design. I am a sacral authority. So I'm a gut-based decision maker all the time. And so for me, it's always hell yes or hell no. And it's not immediate, but you're different than I. So this is good, like that we have a difference here, like that you want to put yourself and give it 24 hours. For me, pretty quickly, it'll be like a body like, or if it doesn't feel good, I'm like, nope. Or if it's like not now, right? If I don't feel hell yes, I just can't do it because that's just how I'm based.
That's huge. Yes. Human design. We should definitely put a link to human design because I've been learning more about that too. And it is life-changing. I'm emotional. So my decision-making is emotional. And so sometimes I need that pause to take the emotion out of it and then make sure that I'm making, the heart-based decision. Anyways, that's really, I'm glad you shared that.
Yes, of course. Okay. So, for you, so let's create space for something new. So what did you need to let go of, Jen, emotionally or physically to create space for the career that you were building and now love?
Yeah. So we kind of touched on this before, but Jen, for me, it was the shoulds. Like I was like, you have this amazing corporate career. You should be happy. And then it was like all the other people I was worried about, like my mother-in-law. I was like so worried that she was going to think her son married this crazy lunatic that's like going off and doing her own thing. But guess what? She's been the biggest supporter of my work. Great. You know. So anyways, it was the shoulds. It was the other people that I was going to quote unquote disappoint, but none of that actually happened. And then when I really started thinking like, who was I really worried about? It was like my boss from like 6 years ago. Like, who cares? Like, who cares what he thinks about? You know what I mean? So letting go of that was really, really hard, but it was also very freeing. And then the idea of I was running towards something. So this is critical. And this is especially critical, I think, when people are making career changes is like, sometimes in my career, I felt like I was running away. Like, okay, that job doesn't really feel right. This company's not feeling right. I'm running away. But now I was running towards something. Like I was so excited to be doing what I was going to. And that was a huge shift for me. And creating the space was what I was running towards. So I don't know if that's helpful for anybody, but.
Actually helpful for me. So thanks you for sharing that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Also super fun. Side note, I had a countdown app on my phone. That went down to the second of when I was going to be on my own. And so that was really fun just to see every single day, the hours, the minutes, the seconds get lighter and lighter. So anyways.
That's kind of fun.
So Jen, how about you? So what helped you get comfortable with kind of uncertainty as you're making this shift?
So I think it's like listening to that voice. I think it's going back to community again. So like meeting you and you're like, hello, Jen. Like I almost feel like you are all like sisters that are ahead of me, right? And like the big sisters. And you're like, Jen, the reason you don't want your clothes anymore is that you're in the middle of it. I'm like, oh, okay. Because it's confusing when you're by yourself and like
so confusing.
I wore these suits 5 years ago. Now I can't even look at them anymore. Like I want to light them on fire. Right. So I think it's like that big sister energy, surrounding yourself with the right people that have either gone before you or like just a couple steps ahead. I think those are the things that are really helping me right now.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. And it's like that expansion, like when you see other people that have done it, like that was the same for me too. Like I went out on LinkedIn and found career coaches. Again, it wasn't a thing. Went out and found them and talked to them and found out that they were making a great salary doing career coaching, So like there's all these things that are out there that like are expansion for you that, you can kind of tap into. So Jen, you just kind of mentioned this, but were there certain people that really have been super supportive in helping you stay committed and accountable to making a shift, like coaches, mentors, peer groups?
So like coaches that I've had, I have one right now that's like kicking my butt for sure. That, every time I talk to him, he's like, and yes, you will. And yes, you will. And I'm like, okay. I think like just watching like you and others like in our community that are going before me is just so encouraging, right?
Yeah.
Because I will be honest and this is vulnerable. I think that my own family and some of my dear friends are like totally behind me. But, like some of my own family members are still a little like, like what's going on over there? And so that is hard. It is really hard. And what I've learned is to give them compassion and then also to be like, and let me show you, right? Like,
yes.
And not in like a mean way, in a really loving way. And like, with your mother-in-law, she's now your biggest supporter. And so that's where I hope to get is that people will be like, wow, I didn't really understand it, but I do now. And that's my goal.
Yes, I love that you share that. And I think like coming from a place of accountability, like it's easy to stay safe. It's easy to do what you know day in and day out. It's hard to make a change. And so accountability from others and, just having and seeing that it can actually happen is such a big piece.
So Jen, what about you? What about accountability and how it looks like in your life right now?
Yeah. So for me, it's really about alignment and sustainability because I want to do all the things. So I have to figure out like what's most aligned right now and, what's sustainable for me. So it's less about proving or pushing, but it's really about pausing, checking in, asking myself, is this aligned? Is it sustainable? I always say like, I'm almost, I'm like disciplined to a fault. So like I just can't help myself. So that accountability is kind of, so another tool, Enneagram, I'm an Enneagram 3. It's an achiever. I literally just can't help myself. So accountability it comes very naturally to me, but it's really more about that alignment and sustainability.
Okay, so that makes total sense. So this is a fun question. Like we talk about the new identity. So I'm really glad that I get to ask you this because I'm in the middle, but you're fully in the identity. So when did you first say out loud, this is who I am now?
Jen, I have a story. This is so hilarious, but I will never forget this moment. It's actually in my chapter in Brave Women at Work, Lessons in Letting Go. But I was at the Starbucks drive-thru. I can still picture this young man at the window of the Starbucks drive-thru. He was so sweet. And he's like, oh, how's your day or whatever? And he's like, I was like, oh, good. He's like, you're about to start work? I'm like, yeah. And he said, well, what do you do? And I said, well, I'm a career coach and I help people make career changes. And he looked at me, he's like, oh, wow. He's like, that's pretty cool. And that moment, I said it out loud for the first time.
Oh,
and
so good.
It was just like this response of like, oh, wow, that's pretty cool. Just like that validation, I guess, was, it just shifted everything for me. And I will never forget that moment. And I wish I knew who that young man was because it was just such a special moment. So yeah, thanks for asking that question.
Oh yeah, I think he was like an angel in your life.
I think he was. He was divinely, it was definitely a divinely guided conversation for sure.
Yes.
So Jen, as we kind of wrap up here, how do you keep anchoring into kind of this new identity when those old doubts and the patterns show up? Because you're kind of in the middle of it.
No, I think this is a great way to wrap up is I keep anchoring in joy. So there is it can't be anything but make sense that every time I do a podcast, speak with you, speak with others, like I feel so excited. Like the rest of my day, like in all of my corporate, I'm going to be like riding on the melt of this joy. Like I'm going to be like, woo, all that kind of stuff. And so I have to listen to that. So that I can't deny it. I have to anchor in my joy is the answer.
Yeah. And I think noticing that, like, hey, what does bring you joy and delight and having something to look forward to also can be really helpful, which I'll put a plug for the in-season planner because there is a section in there. 5 Minutes to Flourish is in the planner and declaring a daily delight. So every day, having one tiny thing you're looking forward to can make all the difference. So Jen, it's the podcast. For me, it's the podcast or it's writing a blog or whatever it is. One tiny thing will help keep you grounded throughout. So yeah, great example.
I love daily delight. Mine will be this, and I'm now going to a Starbucks drive-thru.
Yeah. Amazing. Fancy coffee is always the answer.
It is always the answer. Okay, well, everyone, as we are putting this series to a close, reinvention isn't about having the perfect plan. It's about taking one aligned step, then another, and letting the path reveal itself.
Yes. And I'll just add that you don't have to do it alone. We are here to help. There are communities out there that are there to help you. And we hope that these stories shed some light that you can do this and that you do deserve it. And your clarity, your courage, and your next chapter all become so much more possible when you have the right rituals, the right small actions, and the right people around you.
Thank you again so much for joining for the entire series. We hope you feel seen, supported, and inspired to step into your own next season.